what are called the three poisons. And the three poisons are actually the source of every aspect of suffering we can imagine. Those three poisons are ignorance, attachment, and aggression. Those are the three poisons that are the three aspects of our experience that the Buddha was looking at and what all of Buddhism works to transform. If we look at those three things, essentially what it means is, in terms of ignorance, we don't understand what's going on. In terms of attachment, we think we know what's going on. And in terms of aggression, we get annoyed with anybody that disagrees with us. Okay? And if you take those three things and you look at it, you can understand how that actually can be the focus in any aspect of your life. Or what makes a mess of any aspect of your life is those three poisons. Let's put it at the physical level, okay, because some of you are involved with healing. Let's say out of ignorance, you don't understand the effects of caffeine on your body. And not knowing that, and because you like certain tastes, you really like Starbucks, okay? Or Cafe Nero, or wherever you want to go, Cafe Nero. And so you get used to the idea of having, 3 or 4 espressos a day, or a latte, or whatever it is. But you have lots of coffee in a day because you just like the taste. And you're not necessarily noticing that or connecting it with, because you are ignorant of the effects, that you have more low back pain. You have sciatica. If you're a woman, you have more fibrocystic problems with your breasts. You notice that your stomach is more acidic, and therefore you're taking Rolaids or Tums or something to take care of the acid in your stomach. But because of the fact that you're attached, you also tend to ignore the connection. Not only are we ignorant of it, but we also at some point make a conscious statement to ourselves, maybe, unconsciously, that we really don't want to pay attention too much because we really, really like it. And then a friend of ours who has been reading a lot of magazines about health says, I've been reading about the symptoms of drinking too much coffee. And maybe if you cut back on your coffee, you wouldn't have those symptoms anymore. And your response to them is, who the hell do you think you are? You some kind of doctor? Okay? So what you do is you don't want to deal with what your friend says. Okay? We aggressively sort of push that aside and continue on our merry way. All right? So in that way, in terms of our cravings, in terms of all sorts of things on our physical existence, we see the poisons at work. And then the same poisons can be present in our emotional lives. Let's say you walk into a room somewhere and the person you love the most, your best friend, is talking to someone who you absolutely can't stand. Okay? And out of ignorance, you look at this attachment to one person and the aggressive feelings you have about the other, and what you conclude is they must be talking about you, because what else could they have in common? And maybe your friend is betraying you. And so what happens is we turn the situation into a soap opera by drawing all sorts of conclusions, because we are so caught up in our aggressive feelings and our attachment feelings that we begin to blur or confuse what the situation might actually be. And, so you get into the notion of he said, she said, and it's what daytime TV makes its money on. It's just that. Just misperceptions. usually between who you like and who's the adversary. I mean, it's a lot of people make a lot of money doing that. Then you can take that not only at a physical level and an emotional level, but also at a spiritual level. And this is really where I want to focus more. Where you have a situation where people, because of not really understanding and because they tend to be rather gullible and may be desperate in their circumstances, that it makes sense to them to strap bombs onto their bodies and walk into a marketplace and detonate those because they don't like this particular organization, this particular government, this particular regime. And they believe that if they do this, they will be rewarded in heaven with whatever, virgins or whatever they want. That's what a lot of people have gotten used to in terms of the Eastern side of this. There's a similar Western side to this, where because of your fundamentalist beliefs, you feel totally at peace with sitting in the bombing cage of a jet, flying over a village and pushing a button that drops several bombs down onto a village and obliterates it. There was an amazing film that I don't know if any of you saw. It was produced in the United States. It's called Jesus Camp. And I can guarantee you there are people, you might even know them in this country and maybe throughout all of Europe, but in the United States, there are churches which are teaching their children to prepare for the Crusades. That's what they're doing. They believe that they're doing God's work, and this is the battle of the future. And so we definitely have this happening on both sides of the ocean. In terms of the book, the Wisdom of the Buddhist Masters, and on this particular level, my own teacher, his name is Kunzug Shama Rinpoche. He is ecclesiastically on the same level as His Holiness Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama is really the political glue for the Tibetan population and the figurehead of the different religious sects, Buddhist sects, but each sect has its own high teachers. And Kunzug Shama Rinpoche is one of the high teachers of the Kagyu lineage of Tibetan Buddhism. And in terms of this ignorance, attachment and aggression at this level, he was saying that one of his big concerns in looking at this time period and the next 50 years was the gradual breakdown of our education systems. That what was happening was, because we're getting so oriented towards technology, people begin to live in this 0 and 1 reality. Things become very, very black and white. And that in the beginning, what happened in the Middle East, in the madrasas, is that many of the teachers didn't want their students to have anything to do with, or didn't want to really discourage anything to do with Western education. But what they soon found out was that some of the best bombers they have are those people that go and learn computer skills and technological skills in the West. That they're very easily programmable when they come back. 0s and 1s. This is what this country is doing to you. This is the solution. Okay, that's how it's done. At the same time, what I would say is that in my own experience of looking at Western fundamentalism,